It's a 100 sub special, Mario Kart Wii tier list. You guys asked for it in the community post, so why not? Let's go for it. B for Luigi Circuit's pretty simple, and Moo Meadows, it's an A. I don't really have much to say about these tracks. These are pretty simple and pretty fun for the most part. Luigi Circuit's a little too simple though for me. And Mushroom Gorge is a lot more complex with some of the turns, and the gap jump exists, so that's an S plus pretty easily. And Toad's Factory, I think it's better than Mushroom Gorge. A pretty solid track. I don't know if it's X, but the conveyors do make it pretty close. The end is pretty damn weak though, for a track in general. I think Coconut Mall does a better job at ending the course. So the Flower Cup is actually one of the better ones, so I'm gonna just go ahead and, Mario Circuit. I actually think Mario Circuit's a bit better, but I still think it belongs in B, so I'm gonna actually move down some tiers here. And as for Coconut Mall, I think it is at least high S+. I personally don't really like it too much track layout wise until it starts getting to the middle and end. The escalators can be very annoying. The middle is where you can do a lot of tricks, it's pretty fun, but the ending is perfect. It's got the cars, it's got the perfect element of risk reward. I think it's enough with I think the music is enough to push it into X rank. As for DK Summit, without a question, X immediately. There's no question. It's got the double gap jump. It's aesthetically so good. As same for Coconut Mall as well. And it's just so fun to go down, especially at that last section with the snowboarding Shy Guys. Super fun time. And Wario Goldmine, I think it's in at least S plus here as well. I mean, Flower Cup's pretty solid except for Mario Circuit, so I'm gonna put it in high S. I think it's above Toad Circuit personally. The minecarts add a bit of risk reward on that shortcut on the little left side. You can go into that cave. I don't think there should be items in the cave. I think they should have stayed behind the minecarts the whole time. But besides that, it's a pretty damn solid track. Alright, the Star Cup. Here we go. Daisy Circuit. Honestly, music, pretty top tier. As for the track layout, super basic. Aesthetically, one of the better ones as well. But the track layout just isn't really enough. How... the cones do push it up a little bit into high A, I think. Better than Moo Meadows, but not quite enough to push it over, I think. With Koopa Cape, it's pretty damn fun. Alright, Rushing Water is just pretty fantastic here. I think it's high S plus, I think. And actually, I'm gonna move Toad's Factory down here since, the tiers are pretty similar here. As for Maple Treeway, I'm not a huge fan of it actually. I think that it's about on par with Mushroom Garden. I'm actually move Toad's Factory back because I think it's a bit better than both of those tracks. It's not quite as fun for me layout wise. The music though is pretty darn good. And Grumble Volcano, one of the better tracks. I think it goes in high S plus. Not quite beating out Koopa Cape though. The rushing water in the underwater pipe section is just that's not really beat by most tracks. As for the last one, the Special Cup, it starts off pretty mid. Dry Ruins is alright. It's at least better than Daisy Circuit, but it's kind of a weak track. The sand in the middle, just near the end, just doesn't feel like it impacts anything very much. You just always have a chance to cut through the middle unless you're on the final lap, which at that point, if you don't have a mushroom, you just go around. It's not really a huge deal. And Moonview Highway, though, one of the better tracks, honestly. Very fun, very good in aesthetics and music. I think. Does it get X? I'm not sure. I think it gets just about. I think it just about makes it in. However, we got one of the weaker Bowser Castles in the series here. And low S, high A, maybe. I'm actually going to move these down here just a little bit. Again. However, this is the best track in the game, 100%. Rainbow Road, best track in Mario Kart Wii. One of the best in the series, out of the ones I've played. But, yeah, I mean, it's just as simple as that. So, here's all the normal tracks ranked, but now I get to rank the retro tracks, which, unfortunately, are a lot weaker, generally, than some of the other ones. So moving on to the retro tracks here, we got Peach Beach, which I think is a B. Pretty simple. I don't think the water rising and lowering and the cataquags, I don't think that it just gives enough danger. It's a little too bland for me. However, Yoshi Falls, you can get out of my game. So boring. Worst baby park. Too big for item chaos. Only 3 laps, so there's literally no chance. I mean, really, it should be 2 laps because of how boring it is. It feels like it goes on for way too long, even though it's about the same length as every other track. Cutting through the waterfalls and taking optimal lines gets you only really 2 item boxes in a single lap, and it's really just not great. Ghost Valley. Pretty solid. I think low A, though. Some of the new tracks, like Bowser's Castle, Daisy Circuit, are a lot better. I think Daisy Circuit just does the simple sort of nature of Ghost Valley a lot better. And, of course, this Mario Race. I mean, Luigi Circuit's just better. It goes on way too long. Sure, you get a little bit of item chaos at the start because it's very close quarters, but there's really not much to offer from it. It's really not great. On to the next set of retro tracks, we got one of the more boring ones. Again, slightly better than Mario Raceway, but only because of the cave indoors and a lot of the sharp corners. Actually, because of those sharp corners, I think I'm going to move it up above Luigi's Circuit, but it's just a hard decision here. And Shy Guy Beach is actually going to be our first retro track. It's pretty solid, and the cannonballs make it pretty fun. Although sometimes it can be a little boring if you're front running for too long. Although that is sort of a problem with Mario Kart in general, so I can't really blame the track too much for that. As for our next one, Delfino Square, I don't think it quite matches it, but it is a bit better than Bowser's Castle. It's just a bit too basic for me. It didn't quite hit the mark. The bridge, always fun to trick off, though. Waluigi Stadium. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to argue with me saying that it belongs in S+ here. I don't think anyone's going to argue. Everybody's favorite retro track coming up, Desert Hills. They've somehow managed to make a worse track than Yoshi Falls. It's boring, it doesn't even have anything going for it. I mean, maybe the fire snakes going up and down, but the waterfall gimmick is just more interesting. And even then, it's not used very well in Yoshi Falls. Both of these tracks can just get out and leave. Straight up. No question. As for the Bowser's Castle, pretty solid. I think it's top of S. One of the best retro tracks here. Easily. And Jungle Parkway. We're back to one of the worst tracks in the game. It's boring, long, bland. The jump is the only thing that's semi-interesting. I'm not going to consider the ultra shortcuts because I can't even do any of the ultra shortcuts, to be honest. And I don't really think they add anything to the game other than frustrating players that don't know how to do them when someone else does them, and suddenly they're in first because of it. Mario Circuit, I mean, it's a basic bitch course. I think it's bottom of A because of the final section, all those bumps, those Goombas, those piranha plants after that bridge. It's just enough to push it into A, but it's still not too interesting. Mario Circuit, I think it's bottom of A actually. I'm gonna move this up here, the GCN version, because I think the chain chomp adds a little bit of spice to it as well. Pretty fun. But as for SNES Mario Circuit 3, it's bottom of A. Daisy Circuit does simplicity a lot better, I think, especially in the aesthetics department. Now, Peach Gardens. Easy S. I think it's slightly better than Shy Guy Beach. The item boxes following the chain chomps in that head section is just phenomenal. It's a great mechanic. It affects your routing every time. It makes you think if you want an item. And yeah, it's always a fun time. DK Mountain. Always a fun time. You got that one shortcut near the end, just like DK Summit. I think Wario's Gold Mine is a bit better, but it's still a very solid track. Bowser's Castle from the N64, one of the better retro tracks. Again, I think it's up there with the other Bowser's Castle, honestly. Well, there we go. That's all the tracks. Thank you all again for 100 subs, and bye-bye.